As January 19th approaches, I think the Islamist side also have their PR machinery in place, because I see a lot of young kids, college going kids, folks who are posting about how, it's not really about Hindus and Muslims. It's not about those binaries. It's not even about the problem with the Indian state. It's about Kashmiris having their land to themselves, which implies that Pandits or anybody else apart from Muslims do not belong to that land. And when said so, they say that, oh, history has changed. Now that it belongs to Muslims, people need to acknowledge for what it is. So in that sense, do you think that the actual history of Kashmir is being wiped out by the Islamist invasions that happened, perhaps even post-partition for that matter?
Last I heard, Indian constitution prevailed in Jammu and Kashmir. Yes, there was a Ranbir panel code for many years, but that has changed now. Article 370 has been put into the dustbin of history, and it's not going to return. The politicians may play some kind of a gimmick. They might even approach the Supreme Court of India, which they have, and they have the right as Indians, as any Indian has. They can knock the doors of the judiciary. They can knock the doors of the investigative agencies. They can knock the doors of the government. But such discriminatory laws had to go, and I'm glad that something that should have happened decades ago has happened now. So there has been discrimination, there has been manipulation, there has been a narrative that has been set up, a propaganda over the years. One, a propaganda, internal propaganda, which I say in Kashmir, where the common Kashmiris are fooled by politicians, separatists, others, which includes a large chunk of the local media as well, who say that, no, you have to fight for Azadi, you have to fight for jihad, you're being discriminated. Kashmir only belongs to Kashmiris and nobody else. Pandits cannot come, Hindus cannot come, nobody from across India can come. This is a very exclusivist kind of a mindset, a very kind of a communal mindset that has been seen in Kashmir over the years. And that is the reason that Kashmiri Pandits today do not feel comfortable to return. We do want to return someday. We do want justice to happen. But for that, there needs to be a conducive atmosphere in Kashmir. So historically seen that history has been manipulated. The Western press, the kind of reportage it did after the abrogation of Article 370, one would have thought, thousands of people are being killed in Kashmir every day, which is not reality. I mean, I was in Kashmir after the abrogation and I didn't see any massive protests. Yes, India is a democracy, and that's why there were a couple of protests. I, as a journalist, as a Kashmiri, said that Indian government was wrong, even though for some time they did, cut the internet for a year or so. They should have, been a little generous, realistic, and because common students, etc., did not like it, did not, suffered a lot in that process. So yes, one has to criticize one's own government when it has to. But the reality remains there was a lot of propaganda that came from the Western press, including Al Jazeera, New York Times, Washington Post, BBC, etc., who did not see how Article 370 was discriminatory in nature, was discriminating against the Dalit, against the Kashmiri women who did not have property rights in Kashmir, and the Dalits who were seen as second-class citizens by the Kashmiris. And that has ended with the abrogation of 370 now.
Please remember to subscribe to us and switch on the notifications for this channel. For our other social media links, more content, and to support our work, please visit citti.net. Dhanyavad. Namaskar.